Recap in minutes. In today's video, we will be enjoying a war drama film entitled 1944. There will be spoilers ahead, chill out and enjoy. The movie begins on the brink of the Second World War in 1944. The Red Army is back on the Estonian border. On July 27 at Tannenberg Line, SS troops man the trenches as their enemy. The Soviet Union heavily bombards the position. Karl Tamik, a sergeant for the 20th Estonian Waffen-SS Division, runs outside the dugout to fix the telephone line. Despite everything, he managed to fix the lines, and their senior officer, Ants, received a phone call ordering them to hold the lines. The whole platoon then goes out to the trenches and into their positions. The Red Army's armor and infantry advance not soon after the shelling. When the Red Army got close enough, the Nazis gave their all. Sniper, mortar, grenades, cannon, and machine gun fire. You name it, they've fired it. The Estonian SS is firm in carrying out the orders and holding the positions. Meanwhile, the Red Army has their tanks and fires on their rivals. The MG42 almost runs out of bullets. Karl immediately goes for an ammo run, and, on the way, he helps a wounded ally. At the same time, a tank manages to pass the first line of trenches, and a soldier quickly disables it by using a Panzerfaust. When the enemy infantry is tens of meters away, the Nazis throw out their stick grenades to fend off or at least slow down the attackers. When Karl gets back from his ammo run, his gunner is shot in the head. Without a second thought, he takes over the position and sprays at the incoming commies. The defenders manage to come out on top with less than 20 casualties and hundreds of dead on the Red Army's side. When the dust settled that night, they requested at least 10 men to reinforce them, but only a pair of twins named Kostya and Anton arrived. The squad then introduces themselves to the fresh faces. Karl makes the twins feel comfy and asks the older of the two, Kostya, as his new assistant in operating the machine gun. Anton tried to volunteer with his brother but was declined. Later the same night, Karl hears some footsteps and prepares his knife. Suddenly, a soldier appears, points his gun at Karl, and pulls the trigger. It was Radik. Fortunately, the safety was on, otherwise, it would be the young soldier's end. Radik informs Karl to wake up the squad since they will be retaking a position. Not soon after, they crawl in the cover of darkness, group with other Nazis on the other side, and position themselves. At first light, the attack begins. The Nazis try to clear enemy positions by throwing grenades and rushing in. When they reach a door, the squad plants a bomb to force it open. At the same time, the Red Army charges in from a different position. A German gunner was able to cover for them, but when his MG42 jammed, the Soviets made it to the trenches near Karl and his squad's position. Then Pierre gets stabbed by a bayonet, and Karl gets tackled by a large Russian. Karl then gets a knife from his boot and stabs the large man, killing him instantly. Weeks later, a high-ranking Estonian government worker visits the notorious Tannenberg Line to award the men for their heroic actions with signed photos of the Führer. Afterward, the men try to relax by drinking at their dugout and making fun of Hitler's image. But the pleasure quickly turned sour. Testosterone mixed with alcohol and ego with a touch of disagreement caused the squad to fight amongst themselves. Luckily it only ended with shouting. Anton head out first, thinking to relieve his twin brother, Kostya. Due to boredom, the men followed. At the front, Anton pokes his head out the trenches to watch no man's land. A rifle shot echoes a minute later, and a bullet hits Anton in the head. His dead body drops near his twin brother. Due to shock, Kostya couldn't utter a word and cried. Later, Ants tells Karl that they will be leaving for Germany. The young Nazi notifies his senior that he'll be staying, so Ants decides to stay with him and talk until he convinces Karl to join them in the withdrawal. By morning, hundreds of refugees flock the main road on the way to wherever it's safe. The platoon's truck convoy stops when a group of armed men is squabbling in the middle of the road. The armed men introduce themselves as the 2nd Company of the Self-Defense Force, a local militia. They asked if the Estonian Nazis had any ammo to spare. They gave the local militia some Russian guns. Moments later, a plane appears and makes a dive. The refugees and the soldiers immediately take cover, but it was too late for some. The plane fires its machine gun, drops bombs, and makes a second turn. Since spots a clueless girl in the plane's line of sight and tries to save her. The plane shoots, killing the Nazi medic immediately. The girl survives, and as the plane makes another turn, Karl saves the girl and dives into the foxhole just in time. After the attack with the wounded civilians, Ants decides to let the women and children ride the military trucks. Not one member of the Nazi platoon complained, and they started marching. Soon, they arrive at the vicinity of Invading, where they decide to intercept the Russians. They then start making foxholes, and later, a local farmer and his wife visit the troops and offer them a warm meal. The next day, the Nazi prepares themselves as hundreds of Soviets emerges from the forest. It was a whole company with a couple of tanks and trucks. Kaminsky, the sniper, initiates the firefight by killing a Red Army officer. With the element of surprise, the Nazis managed to down a lot of Soviets, but the Red Army managed to overwhelm the Nazis with their sheer number and tremendous firepower. When a tank tries to crush Karl, he changes position but loses his balance. When he got up, a Soviet soldier caught up and shot Karl dead. Ants signaled a retreat, and the Soviet officer named Captain Vyers hears it. After learning that they were fellow Estonian, he ordered a ceasefire. No matter what uniform they wore, they were fellow countrymen, and it wasn't worth killing each other. Ants got up, the others followed, and they slowly retreated to the forest behind. Yuri Jogi, the Soviet sergeant that killed Karl, was a fellow Estonian. There is a hint of regret in his face when he sees the tricolors of his country near Karl's rank patch. Yuri then leans over, grabs a letter from Karl's jacket, and tidies up the fallen soldier's uniform. Afterward, Kreml, the Soviet commanding officer, arrives and scolds the captain for ordering the ceasefire. Kreml threatened the captain that he would court-martial him for his actions, but Vyers wasn't fazed. Later, Vyers orders Yuri to bury the dead, both commies and fascists. Soon after, the local farmer and his wife come back and offer Yuri and his men a warm meal. The Soviets didn't take much, but instead, they gave the elderly couple some US canned rations. The clueless couple realizes that they are communists when the soldiers wear their uniforms as they prepare to depart. The elderly couple's expressions changed. On September 22, Yuri and his companions arrive at the city of Tallinn. The city was now under Soviet rule. After months of action, the troops were given the opportunity to enjoy the momentary peace. One evening, Yuri goes on to deliver the letter from Karl's body. He rings up the door, and a beautiful lady answers. He introduces himself and asks if a Tamik lives in the apartment. The lady replies that she's Ino Tamik, the person he's looking for. She invites him in, Yuri hands him the letter, and she goes on to read its contents. Afterward, when asked how he got the letter, Yuri answered and assumed that Ino and Karl were married. She corrected him, stating that Karl was her brother. Ino continues to question the Soviets, but he does not tell the whole truth. He happens to get hold of the letter during battle, and he sees him die. Yuri reminded Ino of how her brother used to be. Subsequently, Ino prepared a warm meal for Yuri. The way they looked at each other, infatuation is undoubtedly there. Late at night, the two take a long walk to get to know each other more. Ino leads Yuri to an empty church where she gets comfy and rests her head on Yuri's shoulder. She then tells him that she forgives the man who sent her family to the gulag. Yuri's eyes widen when she innocently reveals that her brother mentioned the man's name in the letter. It was Jogi. A cruel twist of fate is that Yuri Jogi happens to be the man who sent Karl and Ino's family to the Siberian gulag. Before he departs the next day, Ino smiles and signals Yuri to write her a letter. She then asked his last name. Yuri lied and replied, Tull. The fact is, Tull is one of his men's last names. While walking on the way back, a man signaled for Yuri to get in the car. Once he got in, he saw Kreml. The commanding officer was watching his movements. Yuri tries to protect Ino by stating that she is his sister. But Kreml has read his file, and there is no record of him ever having a sister. Kreml then blackmails Yuri to snitch on his comrades and see if there was anyone who did anything that was against Soviet principles. Months later, the Soviets pushes towards Saaremaa without encountering a single resistance. When they reach a particular area, Ali, a Soviet foot soldier, suddenly starts celebrating and excitedly runs around checking the place out. It turned out it was Ali's house, where he grew up in. Captain Vyers orders Yuri's squad to accompany Ali. With roofs over their heads, the team gladly obliges. Later that night, 3 replacements are sent to join Yuri's squad. Yuri immediately notices the soldiers' posture when ordered to be at ease. He then tries to be frank with them and asks them if they served the Third Reich before. The 3 hesitated at first but eventually admits that they used to be in the German forces but deserted until they were conscripted to the Soviets. Yuri advises the young lads to keep their history with the Nazis a secret. After briefing his men about the incoming assault, Yuri gets called into Kreml's office. The ruthless Soviet commander tries to rub elbows with Yuri in hopes of having him obey his every command, but Yuri played it out, hesitant to betray anyone. In mid-November, the Communists start their advance on the last German army defense line on the Sorv Peninsula. The German ships started firing their cannons and made the Soviets' advance difficult. With mines on both sides, the Red Army had no other choice but to follow one path, and eventually, several men instantly died after getting hit by a shell. Yuri and his men move forward but one crazed soldier panics and starts running to the sides. He then triggers a mine, causing him to lose a leg or two. Soon they are met with heavy machine gun fire. The troops take cover on the stone fence while the German suppresses their movements with a combination of machine gun and anti-tank fire. The sniper from Yuri's team, Oscar, runs to the other side and snipes a German soldier holding an anti-tank cannon, dead. After that, the Soviets initiated a suicide charge, resulting in a very intense battle. Ali takes point then. Suddenly a German soldier grabs the Soviet and detonates a grenade, taking Ali with him. Eventually, the Soviets won the day's battle. Later that evening, while having a drink, Oscar asks Yuri why he can't sleep. Yuri replies that he can't forget Karl and then tells the story when he sends his letter. The following day, the whole company patrols a forest with their commanding officer, Kreml. Captain Viers tells Yuri that the Soviets' political department is interested in him and that they're both in deep trouble with the Communist Party. Then they hear a noise. Viers signals the troops to tread carefully and rush to the noise. They eventually surrounded 5 Estonian boys with German SS uniforms who didn't resist. Viers orders the young boys to come with their hands up. The teenagers explained that they weren't volunteers and were forced by the Nazis to go to Germany, but they didn't because they wanted to go home. After hearing their story, Kreml immediately orders Yuri to take his men and shoot the young traitors. Yuri argues that they are children. When Kreml stated that defectors are supposed to be killed immediately, Viers responded that the kids were forced. The Soviet commander ordered Yuri the second time, but Yuri stayed true to his principles and morals. He declines to shoot them. In response, Kreml shoots Yuri in the heart, killing him instantly. The others point their guns at Kreml, but he threatens them that all of the relatives will be sent to the gulag if they kill him. But Oscar wasn't having it no more and shoots Kreml. Yuri's squad members take a moment before moving on. The movie ends with Oscar delivering the letter from Yuri's jacket to Ino. In the letter, Yuri says his last name is Jogi, then tells the truth that he killed her brother Karl in battle. He couldn't tell her the truth eye to eye because she was the only thing that kept him going. Yuri then asks for her forgiveness. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this and to help the channel grow.